Good day everyone. Let us discuss about probability distribution and its properties. So our lesson objectives for this topic is at the end of this learning episode, you are expected to illustrate a probability distribution for a discrete random variable and its properties and compute probability corresponding to a given random variable. Same through with the lesson competency, you have to illustrate a probability distribution for a discrete random variable. To start with, let us first take a look at this problem. Suppose 3 cell phones are tested at random. Let X represent the number of defective cell phones. Find the probability of each of the values of random variable y. So the first thing that you are going to do is to compute for the number of possible outcomes. Again, to compute for the number of possible outcomes, you have the number of choices raised to the number of object. So you have two choices. It's either defective or not defective. Raised to 3, you have 3 cell phones involved. So you will list down 8 possible outcomes. Those 8 possible outcomes are the following. It's either we have this. N for not defective, D for defective. So possible outcomes are not defective, na tatlo, not defective, and defective, and so on. And we are considering the number of defective cell phones. So in outcome number 1, not defective, 3 not defective, so we have 0. Okay? So for outcome 2, not defective na dalawa and then 1 defective. So we have 1 defective. Alright? And so on up to 3 defective. So that's why we have here your 3. Now, we are looking for the probability of each values. So, what's the probability that there is no defective out of all your outcomes? So, in here, what's the probability that there is no or there is a 0 value out of how many outcomes here? So, we have 1 out of 8. So the probability that there is no defective cell phone is 1 over 8. And we have, what's the probability that you get 1 out of all your possible outcomes? So you have 3 out of 8. Same through with 2, we have 3 out of 8. And 3, you have 1 out of 8. Now, this column here, these values here, 1, 8, 3 over 8, 3 over 8, and 1, 8. These are what we call your discrete probability distribution. Actually, the discrete probability distribution actually is the whole of this, which includes the third column, which is the probability of x. Now, what is discrete probability distribution now? The discrete probability distribution consists of values a random variable can assume and the other corresponding probabilities of the values. So, in short, ibig sabihin lang ng discrete probability distribution is the probability of each random variable. Okay, so we have 0, so 1 over 8, 1, 3 over 8. Okay, so the numerator is kung ilan yung lumabas and the denominator is the total number of possible outcomes. Okay? So that is the concept of discrete probability distribution. Next, we have here the second example. Suppose 3 coins are tossed. Let y be the random variable representing the number of tails that occur. Find and construct the probability distribution of each of the values of random variable y. So again, what are the possible outcomes? The possible outcomes is 2, which is head or tail, raised to 3, that is the number of coins. So we have 8 possible outcomes. And here they are. So we have HHH, or head, 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 tail, head, head, and so on. And then the probability of getting 0 out of how many possible outcomes is 1 over 8, 3 over 8. Same through with our previous example. So, if we want to sum it up, you can just write the number of tails or your random variable and the probability. So you have your 0, 1, 2, 3, your number of tails or your random variable, and then the second column is the probability. Their corresponding probabilities. 1, 8, 3, 8, 3, 8, and 1, 8. And then next, we have 2 balls are drawn in succession without replacement from a bowl containing 5 red balls and 6 blue balls. Find and construct the probability distribution of each of the values of random variable z, or your blue balls. So since we have 2 choices, it's either red or blue. So you have 2 raised to 2 balls, so raised to 2. So we have 4 possible outcomes. And those outcomes are red, 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 blue, blue, red, and blue, blue. Right? Since we are just considering the number of blue balls as your random variable, so we have to count how many times it appears in your possible outcomes. So red, red, so 0. Red, blue, so 1. Blue, red, 1. Blue, blue, 2. So since we are tasked to construct its probability distribution, we have here the summary. Number of blue balls 0, 1, 2, and its corresponding probabilities are 1/4, 2/4, and 1/4. So 1/4 kasi 0, isa out of 4 outcomes, and so on. And then next, let's move on to the properties of probability distribution, or the properties of discrete probability distribution. The first property is the probability of each value of the random variable must be between or equal to 0 and 1. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito, class, is if you want to say that the given set is a probability distribution, you have to inspect each probability value. So, bawat isang value i-inspect mo. Anong i-inspect mo doon? Inspect mo siya kung ang value niya ay from 0 to 1 only. Hanggang doon lang, hindi pwedeng mag-negative, hindi rin pwedeng lumagpas sa 1. Pwedeng 0 mismo, pwedeng 1, or in between. Okay? That's the first property. The second property is, what you will inspect is the sum. The sum of all probabilities must be equal to 1. Ang ibig sabihin nun, kukunin mo, i-add mo lahat yung mga probabilities na given, it must be equal to exactly 1. So, dapat masatisfy itong property 1 and property 2. Kapag isa dito hindi masatisfy, automatic that the given is not probability distribution anymore. Let us take a look at this example para alam ninyo kung paano i-apply yung properties na yon. The instruction is determine whether the following represent a probability distribution or not. Number 1, we have the random variables 1, 5, 8, 7, and 9, and their corresponding probabilities 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Property 1, check if each probability ranges from 0 to 1. Pasok naman siya. Ibig sabihin nung 1/3 ay pasok sa range na 0 to 1. Ngayon, check mo naman yung kanilang sum. I-add mo to lahat, yung P of X. Kapag ang sum ay exactly 1, then itong table is a probability distribution. So if we add 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, the sum is 5/3. And if it is improper fraction, meaning mas malaki yung numerator kaysa sa denominator, that's improper fraction, ay hindi na pwedeng maging probability distribution because in decimal, that is more than 1 already. Bakit? If you divide 5/3, it will give you 1 point something. So, therefore, our table 1 is not probability distribution. For number 2, we have random variables 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Their corresponding probabilities are 1, 6, 1, 6, 1 third, 1, 6, and 1, 6. If you inspect it, property 1, lahat naman sila ay range from 0 to 1. And then, kapag inad, 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6, that's 4 over 6, plus 1 third, it will give you exactly 1 na sum. Therefore, for number 2, that is a probability distribution. It satisfies the two properties. Number 3, you have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 random variable, and their probabilities 10 over 3, 1 third, 4 third, 5 over 6, and 1 6. Meron ka ng improper fraction. So, ang ibig sabihin ay yung 10 divided by 3 is already 3 point something. So, more than 1 na agad yun. So, ang ibig sabihin, property 1 was not satisfied kasi meron tayong actually dalawa na improper fraction na nag-violate sa property 1, and it goes sa property 2 kasi pag inad mo naman to lahat, ang sum nila is still more than 1. So, for number 3, that is not probability distribution. And for number 4, we have probability of 1 is 0.42, probability of 2 is 0.31, probability of 3 is 0.27. If you inspect it, isa-isa, lahat naman sila pasok sa property 1. And then property 2, if you add them, 0.42 plus 0.31 plus 0.27, it will give you exactly 1. So therefore, for number 4, that's probability distribution. Okay, so that's it for probability distribution and how to apply their properties. So thank you very much for watching and listening.